Hi everyone, I'd like to welcome you to UBC's Zero Waste Orientation presentation that is designed for both new and returning staff and students, whether you are working or learning on campus, remotely, or a combination of the two. Today, I will be providing both a general introduction to zero waste and sharing the new and exciting waste reduction initiatives happening at UBC in the past few years. So firstly, I would like to acknowledge that UBC Vancouver is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. But as many of you may be joining us today from all over the world, near and far, please just take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So the first thing I would like to do before we get started is to just pose the question, do you know where your waste goes? Do you have separate waste streams where you live? Do you just have garbage? Do you know how to sort your waste? If so, that's great. But if not, this presentation will explain the importance and methods of sorting your waste properly at the UBC campus, and also to provide some helpful tips on reducing your waste wherever you are joining us from in the world. So what is zero waste? It's both an ethos and a practice. The Zero Waste International Alliance describes it quite well. Zero waste is a goal that is ethical, economical, efficient, and visionary to guide people in changing their lifestyles and practices to better emulate sustainable natural cycles, where all discarded materials are designed to become resources for others to use. Zero waste means designing and managing products and processes to systematically avoid and eliminate the volume and toxicity of waste and materials, to recover and conserve all resources. Implementing zero waste will eliminate all discharges to land, water, or air that are a threat to planetary, human, animal, or plant health. Here at UBC, zero waste is also an aspirational target. We are aiming to divert as much waste as possible from the landfill by first reducing the amount of waste we generate, by reusing materials instead of buying new ones, by recycling waste that can't be reused, and recovering resources such as turning food waste into compost where possible. And lastly, by responsibly managing any residual materials that cannot be safely reduced, reused, recycled, or recovered, and may have to be disposed of in the landfill. So here at UBC Vancouver, we are actively working to reduce the use of disposable foodware, namely disposable coffee cups and plastic foodware. So we are encouraging students, faculty, and staff to choose reusable mugs, water bottles, and cutlery instead. This initiative is part of UBC's Zero Waste Foodware strategy, which is aiming to keep as many single-use coffee cups, plastic straws, bags, and cutlery out of landfills and the environment as possible. To incentivize the use of reusables, there are some changes at UBC. Single-use coffee cups now cost 25 cents. Single-use cutlery distributed by food outlets must be fully compostable materials such as wood. Plastic straws are no longer permitted except for in accessibility cases, and paper bags are 15 cents, which are replacing the plastic bags that used to be distributed on campus. The charges for the coffee cups and paper bags are returned to the outlets to offset the potentially higher costs of sustainable packaging. However, as we all are well aware, things might look a little bit different this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which I will address in the following slides. So the charges and packaging requirements for the zero waste foodware strategy are temporarily on hold until campus activities resume post-pandemic, as many shops and food outlets may not be accepting reusable drinkware for the time being. There is no requirement for outlets to charge this fee, although if you do bring your own coffee mug, many outlets are still honoring a 25-cent discount depending on the outlet, even if you must be provided with a single-use cup. So it's a good idea to bring yours anyway. and single-use cutlery. So many of the outlets who had switched to bamboo may have had to switch back to plastic wrapped in plastic wrap as a safety measure. So one way to get around having to use plastic cutlery is just to carry a set of your own reusable cutlery in your bag or backpack. So also due to COVID-19, it is possible some water filling stations on campus may not be available. As of July, there are a couple of them that are closed for now, but I'm not 100% certain on how this will look in September. So I will just say that, especially if you're a new student, definitely bring a full bottle of water from home if you don't have easy access to a water tap in your work or study area. At UBC, we have a multi-stream waste sorting station. There's many of them dispersed among campus, indoors and outdoors, and each station has separate bins for food scraps, for paper, plastic, and glass containers, paper products, and landfill items. And pictured here are some examples of each bin and the types of items that are permitted in each bin. So sorting might take time to get used to at first, especially if you're from another area with different waste management practices, but it is easy once you get it. And many of the sorting stations do have examples and signage on the bins to let you know what is and is not permitted. So it should come with time. Don't get too frustrated and give up. And yeah, so right here is a good primer for that. So you might be wondering why waste sorting is so important, but there are a few reasons. When organic materials get sent to landfill, they break down without the presence of oxygen, which causes methane to be released into the atmosphere. And when you recycle paper, plastic, and metal, it reduces the greenhouse gas emissions needed to make these products from new materials. And lastly, at UBC especially, the reuse and recovery of valuable materials. So for example, food scraps generated at UBC are composted right here and used in the gardens and landscaping around campus. So as you are learning to sort at UBC, and if you think you know your stuff, you can test your knowledge by playing the Sort It Out game here. And also, if you come upon an item that you need to dispose of, but you're not sure where it goes, you can search for it on UBC's Recyclepedia page. And if it's still not apparent where this item can be disposed of, you can always email the Zero Waste Coordinator at zerowaste.coordinator@ubc.ca, and they will be happy to point you in the right direction. One of the most important things to remember about sorting is that absolutely no plastic is permitted in the organics and food scraps bin. If you do have plastic bags to dispose of and don't want them in the landfill, the clean, soft plastic bags can be brought to the McMillan building on the 3rd floor, or you can bring it to a nearby community recycling depot. I know a lot of students do use plastic bags as a liner for their green bins in their dorms, but there are alternatives. So if you live on campus and need a liner for your bin, you can use scrap paper, craft paper, an old paper bag, or like a piece of newspaper to make a bin liner. And I've included a link to a video here to show you how to do it. It's quite easy and it really does keep your bin clean, and then it can just be disposed in the compost with the food scraps. If you must use a plastic bag as a green bin liner, there's a couple of steps to follow. First, you want to empty the food scraps into the organics bin and then dispose of the plastic bag into the garbage, never the organic stream. It's better to put the plastic bags into the garbage than it is for them to enter the compost. Another thing that might be a little bit confusing is the amount of bioplastics and biodegradable plastic products on the market now. They are not permitted for distribution on UBC under the Zero Waste Foodware strategy, but they may still be around as the strategy has only been in effect since January and there's still some transitioning going on. But if you do happen to get a biodegradable plastic or bioplastic product, they are not accepted in the organic stream. They must be disposed of in the garbage. The reason that they must go in the garbage is some of these items are actually still petroleum based. They act a lot more like plastic than a compostable material, and some of them will just degrade into microplastics, which are very bad for the environment. And it's also very difficult for staff to differentiate a bioplastic versus a conventional plastic. In the green bin, it just looks like contamination, so then it becomes landfill instead of compost. And lastly, there are just too many types of bioplastics and biodegradable plastics with varying composition. It's just not known how all of these different materials will behave under the UBC composting conditions, and it would be quite difficult to test every single type. So if this topic piques your interest and you want to help out in zero waste, here are a few ways to get involved. As a student, you can speak to a sustainability advisor to find out more about relevant courses and programs offered at UBC. You can apply to become a sustainability ambassador for valuable student leadership experience in zero waste. You can also join a club, and when campus activities return to normal post-pandemic, you can even sign up to join the Zero Waste Squad, which has students educating the campus community about the importance of recycling and composting and to help reduce waste from events. And if you are a staff or faculty member, there's also options to get involved. In your workplace, you can apply to become a sustainability coordinator, which gives you the support, awareness, skills, and tools you need to be a sustainability leader in your department. If you have a lab, even if you are a graduate research student, then you can join the Green Labs program to learn how you can integrate some environmentally friendly practices in your lab to lessen its environmental impacts. And if you are a buyer or you need to purchase something as a staff or faculty member, you can consult the Sustainable Procurement Guide. And if you're throwing an event or a social gathering, please feel free to consult the Zero Waste Events Guide to learn how your next event can be eco-friendly and zero waste. And if you're not on campus at all this year, there's still ways to be zero waste at home. You can reduce your consumption, you can donate and repair items instead of throwing them in the landfill. And when COVID-19 allows, you can try shopping with your own reusable containers at a bulk or zero waste grocery store. Many of the items that aren't accepted in the UBC recycling stream are accepted in municipal recycling depots, so such as styrofoam, soft plastics, crinkly plastics. You can bring those items to recycling depots, Recycle BC, and return it. So you can store these items maybe in a box in your house and then take them every few months to drop off. Even if you're trying to be zero waste, sometimes it's inevitable that you obtain these items. So that's one option. But there are many other ways to reduce your waste in the home, and these are just some beginning steps you can take, but you can always check out our resources to learn more. And lastly, I just wanted to remind you to not get overwhelmed. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. So every little bit counts, and definitely your actions are helping. So I will just leave you with some UBC resources regarding zero waste and sustainability. I encourage you to check them out when you have a moment and get involved. And I would just like to thank you so much for your time today. And if you have any questions, you can email zerowaste.coordinator@ubc.ca or check out any of these resources. And thank you so much for your time.